Hello everyone, post-production me here. Welcome to my studio. It's early Saturday morning. I am editing these videos right now, and I have to preface this video just telling you that I was very incorrect about how Foretell works. As Crazy Jaw was pointed out to me in my white review, I was thinking that Foretell was face up. When you put something away in exile, it was face up so that both your opponent can see it and that you can see it. Which is kind of how I would expect Foretell to work, which is why I thought that way, obviously. That's not the case. It is face down, so your opponent does not know exactly what it is that you have put away. That changes, obviously, a lot about how Foretell works and how I would think about Foretell. This whole entire video and all of the other colored videos that I have recorded, I go about thinking that that's how Foretell works. So I apologize about that. I'm not going to re-record these videos. It took me like 3 hours or 4 hours to do all of them. I have not yet recorded the multicolored and colorless and land video, so I will be recording that later today or tomorrow. So obviously I will have the updated version of how Foretell works, although I don't really know how many Foretell cards are going to be in that set. Anyway, I just quickly wanted to say that. I apologize, and thank you very much, Jawas. And I'll see you guys all around. Enjoy the video. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Absurd Heroine video. So we're continuing our KALDHEIM review now with blue. So the last video was like 40 minutes long, so let's just dive right into it. Absorb Identity. A instant for 2. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You may have shapeshifters you control become copies of that creature until end turn. This is a super interesting card. I have no idea what we can do with it yet, but I will definitely be poking around with this just because of how weird it is. Super weird. I mean, I don't really even know how many shapeshifters there are. I don't think there's like an overwhelming amount of shapeshifters. And what would you exactly want it to become a copy of? Like, and if it's a legendary thing, like if you wanted it to be them all to become Croxas, right? You return the Crox out of their hand and then they all become Croxas. Then they all die because the Crox is legendary. So like there's certain situations where you definitely wouldn't want to play this card unless it was, so it's not your opponent's, it's not a creature your opponent controls, so you could control what this is. Return target creature to its owner's hand. So you could return your own creature to your hand and then have all your creatures turn into that creature, whatever that creature happens to be, and just make it like something super powerful. Like a troll king or something? I don't know. I mean, that could be what it is. Like, I wouldn't want to have like 4 troll kings attacking me. So, I don't know. I think this has the potential to be like super cool and janky, which is why I like it, and I'll play around with it for sure. But I'm just not, I haven't fitted into the right puzzle piece in my brain yet. All right, Elrond, God of the Cosmos. So here we are, a 1/1 god for 5. Okay. Elrond gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, and each foretold card you own in exile. Okay. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards from your library, put all cards of the chosen type into your hand, and the rest into the bottom of your library in any order. Interesting. That is interesting. This is a very weird card. Let's see what the other side is here. Haka. Whispering Raven. A legendary creature bird for 2/3 for 2. Okay. Flying. When Haka Whispering Raven deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand, then scry 2. Cool. This is a cool card. I like this. Is it good? Like, I have no idea. It really depends on how good Foretold is. And I think Foretold is good. But even if you were playing like an all Foretold deck, which I will definitely make because that's one of the things that I am most excited about, Foretold. And this card probably will only be a 2 of at best. Just because it's so weird. Like, you can cast Haka on turn 2 and then hit in for turn 3, have it return to your hand, and then be able to cast it as Elrond at some point later. And it is powerful if you have cards in your hand or cards in Foretold. It's just the way of getting more cards into your hand only works if you know what they are. So it's interesting. It is an extremely interesting card, and I will definitely be interested in playing around with it. I don't think it's got a place in the meta, but it might have a place in my heart. All right, Elrond's Epiphany. A sorcery for 7. Create 2 1/1 bird creature tokens with flying. Take an extra turn after this one and exile Elrond's. Okay. Anything that says take an extra turn after this one makes me really want to just throw up in my mouth a little bit. But at least you exile it. You exile this, right? There's no way to detach that exiling part from taking an extra turn after this one. So that's good. I hate the type of control decks that just don't let you play the game. Like, that's one of the reasons I don't like control in general, is because the whole entire point of a control deck is to prevent your opponent from playing the game. And that's not fun for that person. And if both people, or multiple people, depending on how you play Magic, are not having fun, then why are you playing the game? In a competitive game, you play it to win, some people will say, of course, because there's money in it now, and you can make money if you win, so therefore you shutting down your opponent is one of the ways of winning. It's just a strategy of winning. That's not why I play games, and I don't like games that are played like that. So I hate this card. I hate this card, and I really hope that the Exile Elrond's Prophecy will make sure that it doesn't become another Nexus. So, yeah. When Nexus, I can't remember the full name of it, but when the Nexus card was out, what was it, like 2 years ago? And in full swing during its time in the meta, during its shining time before it got banned to hell and beyond, Standard was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Like, it was so unfun to play, because if you played up against that card, then you were just stuck in a game forever that you were going to lose. And that sucks. Like, people don't like to play that, which is why Wizard was like, oh yeah, well, maybe we should ban that card. So, there you go. Hate this card. Very cool art over here, though, I will admit. Good on you. Vulcan Baga. But I hate this kind of stuff. All right, enough of that. Annul. Counter target artifact or enchantment spell. Sure, fine. Ascended Spirit. A 1/1 spirit for 1. 2 snow, it becomes a spirit warrior with base power and toughness for 2/3. For 3 snow, if it's a spirit, so like this basically, you have to tier this. So it becomes an angel, a 4/4 angel, and for 4 snow, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's a 6. So it eventually becomes a 6/6 angel. Excuse me. It becomes a 6/6 angel that draws you a card when it deals damage. Like, this is cool. I like this. Like, grows with you. But unfortunately, it can fall into the trap of being the only thing that you do for 4 turns, and then your opponent just like removes it. So you're putting like all of your eggs into this basket. Like, this is basically a 6/6 angel that draws you a card with flying that costs, what, 10 mana? That sounds bad. It looks good when you just look at it. And the thing is that you can invest when you have the extra mana to invest into this card. So that's probably the way that you want to play it. You don't want to put this out and then just like spend your first 4 turns like with just this card and just making this card bigger. You probably just want to put it out and then do a bunch of other stuff. And then when you don't have anything else to do, that's when you invest in it. But it is a snow creature, which is also very cool. So this could probably make its way into like snow decks. I do like this card. I think it's very interesting, but I don't think it's as good as you might initially think. All right, Augury Raven, a 3/3 bird for 4, flying and Foretell. Cool. Just like a dirtily Foretell creature. That's fine. It'll probably only work in like Foretell decks. And I don't know if Foretell decks will need this card. Like, if you don't have all of the pieces to a Foretell deck that you want to build, this might be like a filler card. Avalanche Caller, a 1/3 human wizard for 2. Tap 2. Target snow land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature with hexproof and haste until end of turn, and it's still a land. That's cool. I don't know how good this is. Target snow land. So this would definitely be, this is like supposed to be in a snow deck, right? And snow decks are super cool, and that's another kind of deck type that I definitely am going to build, is a snow deck. I mean, I think everybody's kind of interested in building a snow deck. But you need 3 mana for this to work, right? Which isn't a lot. So you could do this on turn 3. You cast this creature turn 2, and then turn 3, you have a 4/4 elemental creature with hexproof and haste. That could potentially die, which would be bad, but it has hexproof, right? So it would only die if you like threw it at something that was too big for it, or that had death touch, which obviously you wouldn't do. So yeah, I think this is good. I like it. Behold the Multiverse. An instant for 4, scry 2, then draw 2 cards, Foretell for 2. Yeah, this seems good. It seems solid. A solid Foretell card. Maybe. Actually, now I think about it. So no matter what you do, you have to spend 4 mana to do this, to scry 2 and draw 2. And I suppose it's not that bad, right? That's not too bad, because usually draw 2 effects cost 3, and this is adding on scry to it. And then you can break up the converted mana cost for this, or the mana cost for this by paying 2 and then paying 2 later. I could see it being a filler for a Foretell deck, for sure. Bergstrider, a 4/4 giant wizard for 5. Okay, so giants. Giants is going to be a thing, right? So blue-red giants, I think, is going to be a thing. So when Bergstrider comes into the battlefield, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls, and if snow is spent to cast a spell, that permanent doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So this is a bad card. This is not good, but giant wizards is going to be a thing. All right. Bind the monster. For 1, enchant creature. When bind the monster enters the battlefield and tap enchanted creature, it deals damage to you equal to its power. And then it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Cool. I like that a lot. I think this is good, honestly. I think this might actually be a pretty good removal spell for like blue. Because of how cheap it is. Just super duper cheap. Like, these kind of effects aren't really that great. I don't think that this is like meta worthy, because there's just too many creatures that just do stuff. Even if they're not dealing damage to you, they just like do stuff. And this doesn't get rid of that, obviously. But this is very cheap removal. And it's blue devotion too, so Brian Barrow Intruder. Excuse me. A 1/2 human rogue for 1. Flash. Oh god. Another very cheap rogue. Okay, flash. When Brian Barrow Intruder enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end turn. Doesn't this already exist? Isn't there a card in Zendikar Rising that already exists that pretty much does exactly this? And it's not being played. Like, there are way too many rogues out there that are just way better than this stuff. So this is just a filler card, really. This is bad. This is a garbage card. Cosima, God of the Voyage. So at the beginning, a 2/4 God for 3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, and draw X cards where X is the number of voyage counters on it. Cool. I like that. And then on the other side, the Omen Keel. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play land cards from those cards as long as they remain exiled. Wow. And it's a 3/3 for 2, crew 1. That's pretty good. This is a good card. This is a cool card. Like, I don't know if this is gonna see like top tier meta play, but this seems like a good card to me. Like, she just draws you cards. She's just a creature that just passively draws you cards. Eventually. So long as you play lands. So, like, maybe in a landfall deck, a blue landfall deck. And it can also steal lands from your opponent's deck. That seems cool. I like it. I like her a lot. As for where she goes exactly, I'm not 100% sure. But I do like her. Very cool. Cool concept. Oh, here's a card I know, because I've been paying attention to Foretold stuff. Cosmos Trudger, a 3/3 horse spirit for 4, flash, flying. Foretell cards from your hand cost 1 less and can be done on any player's turn. So the foretelling can be done on any player's turn? Because I think you can pay for it at any time with Foretell, but the paying the 2 to initially send it to exile to be foretold later can only be done during your turn. And I think this card says that you can do it at any person's turn. Oh god. All right, so Azorius like might be a thing that comes back, and it might be. I mean, it's going to be Foretell, right? Because all of like the really great Foretell cards, some of the really big engine cards for Foretell are Azorius colors. So that might be exactly what it is, which breaks my heart to a degree because I'm not a huge fan of control, but I like Foretell. So I have to wrestle with those feelings inside myself. This is a good card. This is a good card, and you will see it. Cyclone Summoner, a giant wizard. A 7/7 giant wizard for 7. When Cyclone Summoner enters your battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, return all permanents to their owner's hands except for giants, wizards, and lands. You're never going to see this card. You are never going to see this card. I don't think. Not unless there's a way of like really reducing giant cards. And there is that Storm Giant that came out with Theros, which reduces cards with a large converted mana cost. But even so, I don't think that you'll ever see this. I mean, maybe. I'm battling back and forth with whether you will see this or not. I'm not even sure if like Giants is going to be good enough to be in the meta. Giants is definitely a deck type that they're pushing. And this is a giant, and that other thing that reduces the converted mana cost that you have to spend to cast a card over 5 converted mana cost is a giant also that has flash. So giant, like, it could be. This could happen. You have to want it. You have to want this bad in order for this to work. Okay, Depart the Realm. It's going to be super interesting to see how giants work out, honestly. Depart the Realm. An instant for 2. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Foretell 1. Non-land permanent, huh? I guess that's pretty good. There are other cards that do this, that don't foretell. But target permanent. I don't know if they do target permanent. I think there's one other card that does target permanent, and it's exactly this same converted mana cost. So this is kind of just like more of the same. It's fine. It'll work its way into spell decks, right? Disdainful Stroke. Counter target permanent with converted mana cost 4 or greater. Sure. That one, we've all seen that one before. It's a sideboard card. Draugr Thought Thief. A 3/2 zombie rogue for 3. When Draugr Thought Thief enters the battlefield, look at the top card of target player's library, and you may put that card into their graveyard. A zombie rogue. This is garbage. No one's gonna play that. Maybe in limited. Maybe. It's a bad card even in limited. Frostaugur. A 1/2 human wizard for 1. Tap a snow and tap this. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a snow card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Cool. Yeah, I think that probably works in snow decks. Snow decks are going to be super interesting. I can't wait. I literally cannot wait to do snow. Snow and Foretold. Oof, and Angels. Oh god. This is going to be a fun set, I hope. Alright, Frostbeak Yeti. A 3/3 Yeti for 4. For 2, Frostbeak Yeti can't be blocked this turn. Okay, yeah, fine. Whatever. Just a beater card, like, eh. Frostpyre Arcanist. A 2/5 giant wizard for 5. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a giant or wizard. So a 2/5, not flyer. Did I say flyer? I'm sorry. A 2/5 giant wizard for 4. Okay. When this card enters the battlefield, search your library for an instant or sorcery card with the same name as a card in your graveyard. Reveal it and put it in your hand off your library. Not sure how I feel about that. I don't think this is good. I think this is a very specific card. So play it if you're playing like giant wizard spells. And if not, I don't even know if it goes into that deck, honestly. And if not, then never see it. Never play it. Giant's Amulet. An artifact. When Giant's Amulet, an artifact for 1. When Giant's Amulet enters the battlefield, you may pay 4. If you do, create a 4/4 blue giant wizard creature token, then attach Giant Amulet. Okay, so this is just like the sword, the Valkyrie sword. Equipped creature gets +0/+1 and this creature has hexproof as long as it is untapped. Oh. This is a good card for your commander. That's for sure. Actually, this is a super annoying card for Brawl. Now that I think about it. Uh, I'm I'm sure this can be annoying in other ways. If there's any kind of deck that you play with blue in it that requires a creature to be out, a specific creature to be out. Like, for example, in a Foretold deck, and I'm not saying that this is something that even I would do, but you could give this to the owl. I haven't reviewed that yet because I know it's a gold card, right? It's going to be one of the last videos that I review, but there is a Foretold owl that's coming out that just makes Foretold like really good, better than what it already is, and you could like just put this on it so that it can't be removed. It'll just sit there and help your Foretold deck forever. But I don't even know if I would do that, like I said, so it's a good card if you need it. If you need this specific protection, it is good because it is cheap. And it is also a creature if you draw it late game and you need a creature. So, yeah. That's what I think about that. Giant's Grasp, an aura. Enchant Giant you control, an aura for 4. When Giant's Grasp enters the battlefield, gain control of target non-land permanent for as long as Giant's Grasp remains on the battlefield. That's cool. I like the flavor of this card. You're kind of like attaching your opponent's creature to this other creature by an enchantment. That's interesting. It's like a magnet. I mean, if you're playing a giant deck, you play this card, right? It's permanent. Non-land permanent. Oh, you have a Doom Foretold. Yoink! Oh, you have an Elspeth Conquers Death. Yoink! So yeah, I think that's good. If you're playing giants, you play that card. Alright. Glimpse the Cosmos. Speaking of giants, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. As long as you control a giant, you may cast Glimpse of the Cosmos from your graveyard by paying blue rather than paying its mana cost. And you can cast, if you cast it this way, exile it, of course. So you can cast this twice if you're playing a giants deck. That's good. It's a good card if you're playing giants, obviously. So like, so far, I haven't seen any like really impressive giants, but I have seen good giant spells. Raven Lore, scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast the spell, then draw 3 cards. Woof. And it's an instant, too. Oh, okay. Yeah, this belongs in snow decks. Every snow deck wants at least 2 of these. But probably at most 2 of these, too, because it's expensive, right? And I don't think that snow decks are instant decks, really. You know what I mean? I don't think they have counter spells in them and whatnot, and flash spells. So I don't know if at what point you would want to just, like, leave a bunch of mana open for your opponents during your opponent's turn. At least I haven't seen that yet. Most snow spells that I've seen so far have just been like creature based. So you kind of want to cast as much mana, use as much mana every turn as possible. Which is why I would say maybe only 2, maybe only 1 of these, but it is good. Like you can scry 5 and then draw 3 at instant speed. Excuse me, that seems good to me. Alright, Icebind Pillar. A snow artifact for 3. For snow, tap target artifact or creature. No, I don't think that's good. I think that's pretty bad, actually. Very specific card. Based on kind of defense. Alright. Icebreaker Kraken. Here's a big snow creature. Oh my goodness. Costs 1 less to cast for each snow land you control. Which, I guess by turn 8, you can cast this for 2. Unless you're ramping, in which you can cast it for even less than that. Faster than that. When Icebreaker Kraken enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls don't untap during that player's next untap step. Return 3 snow lands you control to their owner's hand. Return Icebreaker Kraken to its owner's hand. Oh. Okay. Okay, so this is good. It is good if you're playing a snow deck, but it's like late game good. So you put it down, you freeze all their stuff. It's like a sleep that's combined with a creature. And then you attack in for 8 the next turn, because hopefully all of their stuff is tapped. So it doesn't tap their stuff, but it makes it so that they don't untap. So if your opponent is playing control or some sort of non-attacking creature-based deck, or just isn't attacking at the moment because they can't, then this is not particularly good. Useful. I mean, it's an 8/8, so it's good, of course, but it doesn't have any kind of, it doesn't have any way of getting around. Like, it doesn't have trample, doesn't have flying, doesn't have menace, none of that stuff. So it's just an 8/8 that just, like, can be destroyed, or can be blocked by a 1/1 human creature token. Like, so, probably one of, maybe. I'd have to play with this and see how it feels. But probably just a one of. Seems strong at first glance, but limited bomb though. Maybe not even actually, because you'll have in limited you can't really get snow lands, so even in limited it would be bad. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Inga Runei's, a 3/3 human wizard for 4. When Inga, that's hard to say. Inga Runei's enters the battlefield, scry 3, and when it dies, draw 3 if 3 or more creatures died this turn. Oh, interesting. I'm not sure if I like that. Doesn't have to be your creatures though. If 3 or more creatures died this turn. And it doesn't have to be other creatures either. So it's this creature plus 2 others, which makes it a bit easier. But even still, that seems hard to do. And then she's not statted very well either. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I think she's not very good. I like that card though. That's pretty. All of these cards are pretty. I want to own all of them. Okay, Carfill Harbinger. Add blue. Spend this mana only to foretell a card from your hand or cast an instant or sorcery spell. I'm gonna play with that card. 100%. I don't know if it's really good for like a foretold deck, honestly. But it's a mana dirtler for blue, which is very rare. Exceedingly rare. So I would probably play with this. It's a zombie wizard, which is interesting too. Interesting creature typing. Lichara Kinseekers. A shapeshifter. Here we go. Our first shapeshifter. Changeling. When Lichara Kinseekers enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, put a +1/+1 counter, and then scry 1. Nope. Not good. I mean, if you're playing like just a changeling deck, maybe. But even so, like, no. Like, it's just not, it's not great. It's not well statted, and it gets a little bit bigger if you have like the correct environment. Good and limited if you build a shapeshifter deck though. You have the ability to do that in your limited pool. Mists of Lichara. Flash. Enchant creature or vehicle. Enchanted creature gets -3/-0. Interesting. Not very good, but good and limited, I guess. Okay and limited. Mistwalker. Another changeling. Oh, here we go. Flying. I'm sorry. A 1/4 shapeshifter for 3. Flying. Mistwalker gets +1/-1 until end of turn. Yeah, another kind of like meh card. I like that art though. Very cool. Mystic Reflection. Okay, here's an interesting one. I was like scratching my head for this one earlier. An instant for 2. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enters the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen type. So it only works once. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enters the battlefield. So if you play like a spell that brought like a bunch of creature tokens out, they can now become creature tokens of whatever target creature that you have targeted with this Mystic Reflection. So if you have like a Hoplite, I mean, not like you would be using a Hoplite, right? Because this is blue and Hoplites are white devotion based. But say you had a lot of white devotion for whatever reason, and you brought out a Hoplite, and you had, let's see, the next time 1 or more creatures, and you could target, so the Hoplites out in the battlefield, the creatures that are coming out from the Hoplite are on the stack. And then you target the Hoplite with this spell, then all of those creatures that the Hoplite is going to make, say that's like 5, become Hoplites. So then you just you've just snowballed your Hoplite creations, right? So then you get like 25 creatures. No, it would be 26 at that point because then Hoplite adds an extra white devotion, right? All of the Hoplites add okay, wait. So it would be 5 more devotion on top of your 5. So it'd be 10. So then you'd be bringing out 50 human. Like, is that math correct? Is that what would happen here? Because if that is what would happen here, then that's hilarious. I was just thinking about it as like just a little example of what this could do off the cuff. I've never thought about that before. But if that's really the case, then that would be hilarious, and that deck needs to be made immediately. Keep your eye on this one. Keep your eye on this one for some janky goodness. As for like anything else, I think that this definitely has potential. Like, say your opponent's escaping a Kroxa, and you're like, well, F that. I don't want you to escape a Kroxa. I want you to become, you know, this 1/1 bug that I made with my Scoot Swarm. Bing! Now they have a 1/1 bug. It's interesting. This is a cool card. I am keeping my eye on this one, for sure. All right, Orvar, the All Form. All right, a 3/3 shapeshifter for 4. So I haven't seen this guy yet. Changeling. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that is a copy of one of those permanents. Oh my. What? Whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, create a token that is a copy of target permanent. Whoa. Whoa. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that is a copy of one of those permanents. This has got all sorts of goodness going on here. There's a lot of stuff that can be done here. This is a scary, scary card. I mean, just for example, you can flicker an Elspeth Conquers Death or something along those lines. Then you make a copy of Elspeth Conquers Death, and then Elspeth Conquers Death comes out again. Oof, this card is good. This card is good. This card is good, and I'm sure I'm gonna hate it by the end of KALDHEIM. Okay. Pilfering Hawk. So a 1/2 bird for 2, flying, draw cards and discard a card. Sorry, I'm still thinking about this, and I'm having trouble like getting my mind off of. There are brews happening up here. All right. Pilfering Hawk, yeah, sure, whatever, it's fine. I don't think it'll see standard play. I don't think it'll see any kind of constructed play. Raven form, a sorcery for 3. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, and Foretell for 1. That's good. That's good. For like a blue removal spell, top notch. For sure. Little expensive, but you can foretell it. Artifact or creature, which is a little sad, but whatever. You can exile whatever. And that's not usually something that blue can do. So this is very good. This is a very good card. Reflections of Littjara. An enchantment for 5. I am still thinking about that. I'm still thinking about that Hoplite. Okay, I gotta stop. All right. Excuse me. Reflections of Littjara. An enchantment for 5. As Reflections of Littjara enter the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen creature type, I keep on wanting to say creeper, copy of that spell. Wow. That's got all sorts of jank potential too. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy of that spell. Good God. But it is expensive. That is very expensive. So I could see it not really being used that much just because of how expensive it is. I don't know how like common enchantment removal is going to be. I think enchantment and artifact removal is going to jump up a lot with this new set. Just because there's so many good artifacts and enchantments. So yeah, jank potential there for sure. Is that an alternative art there? Reflections of Littjara? It is. Interesting. They have 2 different art sets for it. I don't know which one I like better. They're both pretty good. All right. Run Ashore. Instant for 6. Choose one or both. Target the owner of target non-land permanent puts it on top or bottom of the owner's library and then return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. This is a very annoying spell, but there's a lot of these kind of spells out in Magic and they never get used. So I can't imagine this one's going to be any different. Rune of Flight. Here we go. Our second rune. So we had our other white rune, and now we have our second rune in blue. A aura rune for 2, enchant permanent, and when Rune of Flight enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. And as long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature has flying. So it's just the same thing with flying instead of what was the other one? +1/+1? Something like that. What was it? Let me go up really quick. The other rune was sustenance. Lifelink. So this one's flying, the other one was lifelink. You could actually put this on vehicles too, now that I'm thinking about it. That did not occur to me before, but that's pretty much all that you would ever want to put it on. I suppose you could put it on enchantments, like gods that are just enchantments, the Theros gods. But that's, yeah. It's interesting that you can just enchant whatever you want with this. Enchant permanent. I'm sure there's something that you can do that's weird and janky. But yeah, pretty good, not bad, if that's your jam. All right, saw it come in. Instant counterspell. Okay, so this is cool. This is the Foretell counterspell. Aptly named Saw It Coming. Because you can just foretell it away, and your opponent knows that at some point, like, they have a counterspell and can counter whatever for 2. And it's counter anything for 2, right? So I understand that it's for 4, technically. And if you put this away on turn 2, then there's nothing that you can do on turn 3. So you probably don't even, as a control deck, you don't want to foretell this on turn 2 at all, right? You want your flash horse creature that can come in and foretell stuff on your opponent's turn so that you can foretell this on your opponent's turn after they've, passed the turn to you. Then you can be like, okay, I'm going to foretell all this stuff. And one of the things that I'm foretelling is Saw It Coming. So in a foretell deck, I don't know if people would play this outside of foretell deck. I mean, they probably would. You just have to play it differently, right? It's like a different kind of counterspell. I like that. That's why I like foretell. It's going to change the way that people play the game, which is cool. All right, strategic planning. We're getting towards the end here. Strategic planning. A sorcery for 2. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of them to your hand and the rest in your graveyard. Yeah. Sure, fine. It's like foretell. Not foretell. Ponder? It's a more expensive ponder? Something along those lines? Ugh. One of those cards. There are many cards like this. Cool art, though. Surtland Elementalist. A 8/8 giant wizard for 7. As an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal a giant card from your hand, or pay 2. Okay, so it's for 9. Whenever Surtland Elementalist attacks, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this is just, like, ridiculous. This card is probably never being played. Very rarely being played, if ever being played. And then once you get it out, and if you ever manage to actually attack with it, then you can cast whatever you want. And I mean, what would that be? That would be like take the other turn card, right? The one that costs 7, like the most expensive, ridiculous instant or sorcery you can possibly put into a deck you would want to cast. But the problem with that is that it would be in your deck. And you don't want those kind of stupid, expensive cards in your deck. So, like, what exactly would you cast with this? It's a win more card. This is a win more card. But I think giant wizards will be interesting. They will definitely not be boring. So we'll see. Undersea Invader, another giant. A giant rogue, really? How does that work? 5/6 giant rogue for 6. Flash, Undersea Invader enters the battlefield tapped. So you can't flash block it or whatever. This will never be played. Talking about giant cards that will never be played. Undersea Invader. Limited. Good and limited. Bad everywhere else. Alright, so that's the end of blue.